Have you ever looked out at your yard in the fall and thought, what a mess? The leaves keep falling, piling up, covering everything in sight. Maybe you grab a rake, stuff them into a plastic bag, and drag them out to the curb, feeling relieved for a moment that your yard looks tidy again. But deep down, something feels off, doesn't it? Every autumn, millions of tons of dry leaves end up in landfills across the country. What used to be part of a living tree, full of minerals, carbon, and energy, suddenly becomes trash. We seal it in plastic, send it away, and then, a few months later, we spend money buying compost or fertilizer for our gardens. It's ironic, isn't it? The very thing we throw away could have been the secret ingredient for a thriving garden, healthy soil, and homegrown food. I've seen it time and time again. People think composting is complicated, smelly, or slow. Some even tried once and gave up after waiting a year for the pile to break down.
But what if I told you there's a way to turn those dead leaves into rich, dark compost in just a few weeks? Imagine this. Instead of throwing your leaves away, you're turning them into black gold, a natural fertilizer that makes your garden greener, your soil healthier, and your vegetables taste better than ever. That's not just recycling. That's transforming waste into life. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Faster, simpler, and smarter. Combining old wisdom from nature with the precision of modern science, and even a little help from artificial intelligence. Let me tell you something I've learned after years of working with soil, waste, and plants. Nature never wastes anything. Every fallen leaf, every apple core, every bit of kitchen scrap, they all have a role in the circle of life. The problem is, we've forgotten how to see it. You see, when I was younger, I used to rake up every leaf in my yard and throw them away. I thought I was being tidy.
My neighbors did the same. The streets were spotless. But our gardens? They struggled. The soil became pale, lifeless, and hard as concrete after the rain. I had to water more, fertilize more, and yet the plants didn't look happy. Then one day, an old farmer friend told me, "You're throwing away the food your soil needs." That one sentence changed everything. The real value of dry leaves. Here's the truth. Those dry leaves you see covering your yard each fall, they're not waste, they're treasure. In fact, they're one of the most valuable natural materials you can find for making compost. Dry leaves are rich in carbon, which acts like energy food for the microorganisms that break down organic matter. When you mix them with nitrogen-rich materials, like grass clippings or kitchen scraps, you create the perfect environment for billions of tiny decomposers to do their work. These microbes are the invisible workforce of nature. They chew, digest, and transform waste into humus, the dark, crumbly, sweet-smelling compost that gardeners call black gold. But here's the catch. If you just pile up the leaves and walk away, they can take a year or even 2 to decompose. That's why so many people give up. It feels like nothing's happening. So how do we make nature work faster? Let me show you. Step 1. Crush the leaves. Speed is in the surface. The first secret is simple but powerful. Shred the leaves. When leaves are whole, they trap air and water unevenly. They stick together, forming dense, soggy layers that suffocate the microbes inside. But when you crush or chop them, say by running over them with a lawnmower or using a leaf shredder, you increase the surface area dramatically. More surface means more space for microbes to work, and that means faster decomposition. If you don't have a machine, don't worry. Even walking over the leaves or breaking them by hand works better than doing nothing. You're just helping nature get a head start. I remember one winter when I didn't have any fancy tools. I used an old weed trimmer to break the leaves into small pieces, and I was amazed. In less than 6 weeks, I had a pile of rich compost that looked and smelled like forest soil. Step 2. Add nitrogen, the hidden fuel. Now here's where the magic really happens. Dry leaves are what we call browns. They contain lots of carbon but very little nitrogen. Nitrogen is the green part, the protein for microbes. Without it, they can't multiply fast enough. So if you only compost leaves, the pile stays cold and slow. To fix that, you need to mix in nitrogen-rich materials, the things you probably already throw away in your kitchen. Grass clippings, vegetable scraps, banana peels, coffee grounds, crushed eggshells, all of these are perfect. If you can find some animal manure, from cows, chickens, or horses, even better.
Just a small amount can supercharge the process. There's a golden rule many composters use: about 25 parts of carbon, browns like leaves, to 1 part of nitrogen, greens. You don't need to be exact, but remember, too many leaves slow things down. Too many greens make it smelly. The balance is what keeps your compost alive and clean. Sometimes I like to call this part feeding the microbes, because that's exactly what it is. You're not just throwing things together. You're creating a buffet for tiny living creatures that will reward you with the richest soil you've ever seen. Step 3. Build your compost pile, layer by layer. Here's where a little bit of structure goes a long way. Start with a base layer, a few branches or twigs to help air and water move through the pile. Then add your shredded leaves in a layer about 8 inches thick. That's your brown layer. On top, spread a thinner layer of greens, kitchen scraps, fresh grass, or manure, about 3 to 4 inches thick. If you can, toss in a shovel of old compost or garden soil. Think of it as a starter culture. It's full of the microbes your pile needs to begin working. Then sprinkle a little water. You want the pile to be moist, like a squeezed-out sponge, not dripping wet, not bone dry. Water helps the microbes move and digest the material. Now repeat: brown, green, soil, water. Layer after layer until your pile is about waist high. That's it. You've just built a living factory that will turn your waste into wealth. Step 4. Let it breathe. The secret to speed. After a few days, your compost pile will start to warm up. That's the sign of microbial activity. Inside, billions of bacteria are eating, multiplying, and producing heat as they work. It can get as hot as 140 degrees, hot enough to kill weed seeds and harmful bacteria. But like all living things, these microbes need oxygen. Without air, they suffocate, and the pile turns smelly. That's why you need to turn or aerate the compost every 5 to 7 days. Use a pitchfork or shovel to mix the layers, moving the outer materials to the center and vice versa. Every time you turn the pile, you're giving it a breath of fresh air, and you'll notice the smell improves instantly. I've had people tell me, "I don't have time for that." But honestly, it takes 5 minutes. Think of it like checking on a friend. You're making sure your compost is happy and healthy, and in return, it gives you something priceless. Step 5. The final touch. Patience and care. In the first week, the pile will heat up fast. In the second and third week, the heat will start to drop. That's when you turn it again and maybe add a bit more green material if it feels too dry. By week 4 or 5, you'll notice something amazing. The pile begins to shrink, the smell changes, and the texture turns dark and crumbly. That's your compost maturing. That's nature's work. And you made it happen. When you see that dark, earthy material in your hands, you'll realize you've closed a natural cycle. You've turned waste into life again. The science behind the magic. Now, I know some of you might be curious. What's really happening in there? When you mix carbon and nitrogen, the microbes break them down using enzymes. They breathe oxygen and release carbon dioxide and heat. As they eat through the material, they leave behind humus, rich organic matter filled with nutrients and beneficial microorganisms. This humus improves your soil's structure. It holds water better during dry spells and drains faster during heavy rains. It feeds plants naturally, without chemicals. It's like giving your garden a living immune system. A modern twist. Composting in the age of AI. Now, you might be wondering, where does artificial intelligence fit into all this? Believe it or not, technology is already helping gardeners all over the world. Smart composting systems can now monitor temperature, moisture, and airflow in real time, using small sensors connected to an app. Some even use AI to predict when to turn your pile or when it's ready to use. But even without gadgets, AI has changed how we learn. People everywhere, from farmers in Vietnam to gardeners in California, are sharing data, experimenting, and optimizing composting methods faster than ever. AI helps analyze what works best in different climates, saving time, reducing waste, and improving soil health worldwide. So when we talk about modern composting, it's not about replacing nature, it's about understanding it better, with a little help from intelligent tools. A story from my own garden. A few years ago, I had a small patch of land behind my house. The soil was tired. Nothing grew well. One afternoon, I decided to collect all the fallen leaves from my street. About 10 big bags full. My neighbors laughed, thinking I was crazy. I shredded the leaves, mixed them with coffee grounds and banana peels from my kitchen, and built a compost pile just as I described earlier. Every few days, I'd turn it, water it lightly, and check the temperature. 6 weeks later, the pile had turned into rich, dark compost that smelled like the forest after rain. I spread it over my vegetable beds and waited. Within 2 months, my tomatoes were greener, my basil was bursting with fragrance, and even my carrots grew sweeter. That's when I realized I hadn't just made compost, I'd made life. Rethinking what we call waste. Sometimes I ask people this question. What if the problem isn't that we have too much waste, but that we don't recognize its value? Every leaf, every peel, every bit of organic matter is nature's way of giving back. When we compost, we're simply joining that cycle again, becoming part of something bigger than ourselves. It's not just about saving the planet, it's about healing our connection to it. When I see people now sweeping their leaves into trash bags, I don't judge them. I understand. We've been taught to see tidiness as progress. But maybe true progress is when we learn to see beauty in what we once called waste. Because if you can turn something dead into something alive, something useless into something valuable, imagine what else we can change together. So, here's what I want you to remember. Every leaf that falls, every scrap of food you toss, they're not waste. They're raw materials for renewal. When you compost, you're not just reducing trash, you're rebuilding the very foundation of life beneath your feet. Healthy soil means healthy plants. Healthy plants mean healthy food. And healthy food means a healthier you and a healthier planet. I've seen this transformation happen countless times. In city balconies where people compost with tiny bins. In suburban gardens where families turn heaps of leaves into nutrient-rich soil. In rural farms where composting has brought back fertility to land once considered dead. It doesn't matter where you start. It matters that you do start. You don't need expensive tools, fancy machines, or acres of land. You just need a willingness to reconnect with your waste, with your soil, and with nature's quiet rhythm. Because when you turn leaves into compost, you're doing more than gardening. You're becoming part of a global movement, one that respects the earth, restores balance, and redefines what it means to live sustainably in the modern world. And if you think about it, this is exactly where technology and nature can meet. Not to replace each other, but to work together. AI can help us measure, plan, and improve. But the magic still happens in your backyard, under your hands, and within the living soil that gives us life. So the next time you see a pile of leaves, don't reach for the trash bag. Reach for the opportunity to create something new. If this message resonates with you, if you believe in small actions that lead to big change, then join me. Subscribe to the channel, and let's keep turning waste into wonder, one compost pile at a time.